What's up, everyone? Welcome back to The Collider, Sundance 2025 interview studio, brought to you by Rendezvous Capital. We are here, of course, supporting indie cinema, but also LA Wildfire Relief Live. That organization is helping folks out impacted by the wildfire, so if you are able to support, please go on over to lawildfirerelief.live. Thank you in advance for doing so. Now I have the pleasure of welcoming the team from Ojai to our interview studio. Hello and congratulations.
Thank you so much.
Thanks for having us.
So, many questions, but because we're talking about a film festival debut, our audience might not know about your movie just yet. Sophie, would you mind giving a brief synopsis of the film?
Yes, of course. Ojai is about a new couple. Molly and Logan play Isaac and Iris, and they take their first romantic trip away together. You think everything's going swimmingly. By the end of the first night, you realize they are not on the same page. Isaac breaks up with Iris, so she decides to hold him captive to try and convince him that they should be together.
I was wondering how far I was able to go with details. That really just mapped everything out nicely for me. I do want to go back to the development of the idea, which I know you two worked on together. Correct me if I'm wrong on any of these steps, but you came up with the initial idea and then you two developed it together over a weekend. Can you kind of walk me through the start and finish of that part of the process, what that initial idea was, and then how you two worked on it so that you felt confident going off to write the script?
Yeah, well, I was, we were in the middle of COVID and I was having massive existential dread, as everybody was. And I called my agent and she challenged me to come up with an idea that could shoot during COVID with limited locations and limited actors. And by the end of that phone call, about 5 minutes after, I came up with the seed of the idea, which was, guy breaks up with girl, she holds him captive. And Molly and I were in a pod at the time, spending a lot of time together. We've been friends for 10 years now, 6 then. And I told her the idea, not fully knowing quite what it could be. And she jumped in with her incredible enthusiasm. And then, we basically spent a weekend workshopping the story and bouncing ideas off each other. And Molly has such like a enthusiasm about story, and she's so smart, and having her as my partner in this was so incredible, because usually it was my first experience ever developing anything with someone else. Usually I'm alone in a room pulling my hair out, and to have someone else to go, oh no, I like that, or like, oh, I don't like that, was actually incredibly helpful.
How about from your perspective, Molly? What was it about that initial idea that made you say, like I have something to bring to this and I can help nudge it forward?
Well, I think, Sophie and I have been friends for 10 years now, and we've bonded over heartbreak and feeling like, why can't we just have a fucking conversation? And I think when Soph brought this idea, I was like, oh my God, this is wish fulfillment for, forcing someone to have that conversation if I was 5% crazier. So it was really, you mentioned the fires, and my childhood home burned in the fire, and we developed it at my childhood home. I was living with my parents during COVID, and it feels like a time capsule of this like creative time that we were able to have in like such a horrible moment in the pandemic. And it was beautiful. We would like improvise. Sophie would be writing things down. My parents would be like, what's going on in the other room? This sounds insane. And then we would run in and say the idea, and they'd be like, this is amazing. So it just, I don't know. It's a really bittersweet weekend. And it feels like, I don't know, getting to develop this with Sophie was like the most fun I've ever had. It was so, and like getting to improvise things, and then she would just like put it in the script. It was like kind of workshopping a play or something. Yeah, it was wonderful.
I feel like when someone in the other room is shouting like, this sounds insane, what are you doing? That instantly means it's an idea worth pursuing.
Yes, I agree. But
parents are writers, so when they give you a stamp of approval, you're like, oh, okay.
Yeah.
We should follow that.
But yeah, I would just say developing this story with Sophie felt like just a continuation of our friendship, like conversations we had already been having for so long, but being like, should I send this text? And it's like, no, you shouldn't.
You know how much I love hearing about filmmaking families, and it doesn't surprise me that that is coming from you right now. So I love seeing those families grow. A couple of follow-ups. I wanted to go back to your agent really briefly, because I feel like that's something in this business that we don't talk about nearly enough, because it's so important to have that kind of, optimal team behind you that like, yes, gets their jobs done, but do so in a way that, supports your voice and the artist that you want to be. I wrote her name down, Amanda. Yeah. What is it about how Amanda operates that you think tees you up for success with your work?
Well, Amanda and I have worked together since I was 26, and she's the only, my first and only agent I've ever had. I have other people on my team, but she was really the first person who believed in me. And I think having an agent who really wants what you want, which she is, and knows how to, she's just incredibly supportive and pushes me in a way that I feel really lucky for. I don't think everybody has that. But I think having a team, I have amazing managers and amazing agents. I think having a team who really understand what your goal is instead of what maybe they would do is really helpful to me, because I first and foremost want to tell stories that feel meaningful to me and personal, and she knows that, and she's very supportive of that. So
I love hearing that you have someone like that in your corner. It's absolutely vital. To start to dig into the story, Sophie, I'm going to throw this question your way and then open it up to the whole group. So I know that with this film, you were interested in tearing dating tropes apart. So I'll give you a big two-part question for that. When you started writing this screenplay, what single dating trope were you most excited to skewer? But then along the way, was there another one that wound up being more creatively fulfilling to turn on its head than you ever could have imagined at the start?
Ooh. That's a great question. I mean, the first one for sure is just that women are crazy. I thought that was something that, we're really leaning into that in a fun way and then subverting it. I think the dating culture is so tricky at the moment and interesting. And I've gone on a lot of dates in New York City and walked away being like, somehow I don't think I'm the crazy one, but, how are we being labeled in this situation? I mean, I think for the role of Isaac, we're kind of playing with this idea of the trope of women being crazy and men being all souls. But it was actually super important to me that Isaac was not just a one-dimensional kind of bad guy, and he has his own set of baggage, but he's a good person and he wants love too. He just has certain limitations. And I think having an actor like Logan sign on, I felt such a comfort and safety in knowing he would be in that role, because he's such a lovely person, and he says himself he is more of an iris. So, having him in that role made me feel like, okay, we're gonna have a character who is not one dimensional and really has nuance. And so the trope of, I don't know if that's answering your question, but the trope of the also, we were kind of leaning into it and then really realizing, I want it to not be just black and white in that way.
Excellent examples there. I'll throw it to the whole group now. Is there any particular dating trope that was most satisfying for you personally to just rip apart in this movie?
Logan
Lerman.
Logan Lerman.
I don't know. I didn't really have anything that like broad in mind. I just really loved the script and the conflict of these scenes, and I felt like I understood both characters. And wanted to find those layers and kind of explore what's making them the way they are, and that was really exciting to me. But sorry, I can't really answer your question in a great way.
I feel like I was excited to unpack the fuckboy and the soft boy as well. I think it's an epidemic, and it needs to be talked about. So there are some scenes in the movie where, it's really Molly and I diving in, and these are real conversations that we've had. And so, was really happy to put that on screen.
And my character is in love with Geraldine's character, and I was just happy to lean into that and use that as motivation.
I'll take that. I want to come back to the two of you briefly because, again, I haven't seen the movie. I'm so excited about it. I have a feeling it might hinge on your chemistry together. So do you each remember the first thing you saw in the other that signaled to you, like, yes, you are the Isaac to my Iris and vice versa?
Ooh. Yeah, do you remember what that was?
I mean, I think that this project took so long to get made that when Logan signed on to do it, it was a game changer because, like, he's so successful and so talented. So it really helped us get financing. And so that was like such an electrifying moment, but that wasn't like this about Logan as an actor yet. And then the first time that we were like, I think our table read, I would say, which I hate doing table reads, it felt like a play, and it felt so comfortable, and he is so curious and open, and we really come from very different, not schools of acting, but it's like I'm kind of a crazy person and like improvise like I just like, like he's a serious actor, and and I think it was I was like, oh, I am in really safe hands, and then I felt like, ooh, I'm gonna like fuck with this guy a bit.
Oh, it was so fun.
and like push him and and make him laugh, and so and I feel like we met in the middle in a cool way.
Yeah, I never got to do that before, to have that freedom to kind of improvise in a silly way. I don't know, like, yeah, what was that thing? I felt comfortable with you right away, and just, yeah, maybe it was that table read where you could really start getting a sense of how the other person's going about this character, and yeah, I think we both probably walked away from that feeling like, oh, there's something here, and I'm excited to explore it more. Yeah, it was all around good from the get-go. From our first meeting, I think we felt pretty like in line with the movie and the characters.
I don't want to spoil anything, but can you recall a time when she fucked with you and it made you rethink how you were going to tackle a moment?
No, I mean, it wasn't even that. I was just like, I know, and I think we're pretty like-minded in the sense that we give ourselves entirely to the production and to the script, and we love to rehearse and talk and run through it. We're both not like loosey-goosey with our prep.
No.
So, like, we like to prep, and I think that was essential. And then just we were both just present. I don't know if it was fucking with each other as much as it was just like feeling free enough in the moment to just explore what was on our minds, and that was really fun for me.
And we had some really juicy scene work where we had 2 cameras going, and the tone is funny and dark, so we would be laughing and then crying and then break because Logan would say something silly, and then we'd be back into hating each other. It was just really, a ride. And so that was really fun to do with Logan. Yeah.
That's making me wonder, where do your characters fall in terms of the tone of the movie, and when did you kind of realize like you knew exactly where you needed to land in that respect?
Well, we come in about halfway through the movie, and we're sort of the inverse of their 2 characters, and we are actually in a really solid place. Like I said, my character was in love with Geraldine's character.
That's right.
And not to say we're the comedic relief, because they're also very funny, but it definitely seemed like a big energy shift when we came.
Yes.
And I just felt a lot of freedom to be funny and kind of do whatever I wanted. And then I would come to Sophie in between takes and be like, hey, if I'm ever too big, like, you could tell me. And she was like, no, it's perfect. And then seeing the final cut, I think she made a lot of really great decisions on what should have stayed in the movie or not.
And I think Max kind of comes in and is like the voice of reason a little bit, and is just kind of like the moment of like, what should we do? I think, never really like questioning what Iris has done in this situation. Like, I think Max just is such a ride or die friend, and would kill and hide a body for her friend. So I feel like, we just kind of leaned into that kind of devotion.
Sophie, I have 2 follow-ups based on some of what was just brought up there. Molly, I think you mentioned that it took a while to make this happen, and I always love emphasizing how challenging it can be to get a second feature off the ground, because I feel like a lot of people assume like, oh, like it's really hard to make the first one, but once you do that, it's smooth sailing, and that's not always the case. So I guess what would you say is the biggest misconception that you had about what it would take to go from first feature to second feature and get that green light again?
Yeah, I made my first feature 9 years ago, over 9 years ago now. And I'm 35 now. I was 26 when I made it, which is very young to make your first feature. And it came together very seamlessly. And so I'm a very optimistic person. I just thought like, that's how it goes. You write a script and then the same year you make the film, and that's what happens. And then obviously 9 years later, I know that that's not normal, and it takes a long time to get things made quite often. And it's a mix of talented people and financiers who believe in you, and effective producers and all of these pieces that need, and scheduling, all of these pieces that need to line up in order for a movie to happen. And it does feel like a little miracle when you get on set. So, I mean, I don't know, I guess you have to just persevere. And there were a million times over those 9 years where I had such doubt and thought, I don't know what's going on. But we also had COVID during that time and a strike, and we had to fire our agents for a minute. I remember there was that thing. There was a lot that went on in that time. But yeah, I think you just have to kind of keep pushing through and yeah.
It was vital every single step of the way. I'm glad you kept forging forward and you're here with your second feature now. And I have very high hopes there's going to be many more to come. The other thing that I wanted to follow up on, because you two had brought up the tonal shift of the movie when you step in, how do you, I guess, enhance that visually? Is there a point in the movie when like your visual language changes to lean into what they were describing?
Yeah, I mean, my DP and I talked a lot about the visual language. The movie is primarily in one location, in one house. And even within that, a lot of it is in one room. And so I think we were kind of balancing how to keep things fresh when we were in that room for so long. As Molly said, sometimes we used 2 cameras. Sometimes we just would, think really diligently about the visual language and blocking in scenes and working with our actors on blocking. And then when Geraldine and John arrived, we were able to leave that room more. So it did visually really open up the space. We spent more time outside and we thought a lot about warm light and, we wanted the film to feel very warm. So even when there are these silly comedic moments, it still feels grounded and beautiful. Yeah.
Ooh, I like that combo. I'm going to open up this question to the whole group. It's become one of my favorite questions to ask because I love movies and I love movie making. And someone recently, a director, was telling me just like how incredibly happy it made him to see like his actors and everyone on the crew just have so much joy on set doing the work. So this will also give us an opportunity to maybe highlight a couple scenes in the movie. Can you each recall the single moment of making Ojai that brought you the most joy as an artist?
You always have the best questions.
try.
You do.
I gotta do your work justice.
Honestly, every moment of making a film is a joy. Being in production is the greatest thing ever. But it's also really stressful, and I take it seriously. And as you know, like at the end of any day,
Takes it very seriously.
At the end of every day, when we're all like, "Wow, that was so great! We got some like really good stuff." I'd be in our we'd be riding together in a car, and I'd be like, "Yeah, but I hope we find it tomorrow." And I'm like, that's always the mentality for me. But when we wrapped, and I was on my way back to my home, I remember that was the moment where it all just kind of hit me. It was like, wow, we are so lucky to do this, and it was such a great experience. And it was like I was like allowed myself to really feel all that, and it was just a great production. It was wonderful all around.
Love that you had that moment. It's important.
I think, again, like the whole process of making movies is so fun, and I love being around people, and in between takes I really don't stop talking and joking, and that can be nauseating for people, I'm sure. But anyway, there's those few scenes where Molly, Geraldine, and I's characters are trying to figure out the plan of what to do with Logan's character. And I think just the time of night we were shooting in the mood, it was one of those where it's like everyone is breaking, and I'm sure the crew hates us, but we're laughing so hard.
Yeah.
And those moments, it just, you sort of disassociate and because you're having so much fun.
Yeah.
And that was memorable for me. And there was a coffee truck one day that was just so awesome.
It's an important thing to have.
Yeah, you could get anything lattes. You go.
Damn. That scene stands out for me as well. That was just a moment of like, I can't believe this is my job. Like we're just making each other laugh. And then I think there's a scene where Molly and I have like a real heart to heart. And that just felt so genuine. It felt so like authentic to our dynamic and relationship in real life. And that was another moment where I was like, wow, I can't believe that we get to do this and put this in a movie. And that whole sequence, all the kind of like the witchy stuff, really makes me very happy. And yeah, I think it's what's so cool about making stuff with your friends, because they get to go like, let's put that in a movie. So yeah, this whole experience was so charmed. No pun intended.
How about for the two of you?
Oh God, so many moments. This was such a hard movie to get made. It was a hard production because of how quick we had to make it, how quick the turnaround was. We only finished filming at the end of September. We only finished the movie 13 days ago. So I think, you know, it's just been a mad dash. And so I think just being on set, I was so proud of Sophie, like, who I've known for so long, getting to manifest her dreams. Like, that was very moving to me. I love the three of them so much. I hope that we get to make more things together. I feel like I learned so much. You know, this is only my second movie as like a producer, and I feel like I learned so much on this one. Every time you work, you realize you know nothing, and you're like, okay, now I know this, and I know this, and I know this. So I'm just excited to keep making things and keep making things at this level. I'm like, I just hope things continue, because I think, you know, there's all this talk about, you know, buyers and things, but I'm like, you know, movies at this level are beautiful because, you know, you're only there, Sophie said the other day, because everyone wants to be there. Like, no one's getting paid, and it's really hard.
We did.
Oh, we did. Sorry. Well, we didn't pay John
figured.
because I don't
Other
really.
than John,
We
we
didn't pay
paid
John, but no one's getting paid a lot of money, and so everyone just wants to be there for this goal of making something beautiful, and that is just electric. And then, you know, you see it in a movie theater and no one knows what it was actually like. They're like, oh, this is just a great movie. And I think you do. And then you go to a festival, and we were in Eccles last night, and you have this electric feeling, and you finish the movie 13 days. Like, I don't know, it's just amazing. So I hope to continue to make movies like this, even if they're hard.
Keep making movies behind the scenes too, where you're lifting other people up, because Rachel had brought you up too. Rachel Sennett came in with Bunny Lover, and one of my favorite things about the two of you and many others in the group that you formed is how, like, you are using your rising star and your platform in this business to help get things made that might not get made otherwise, and we need more of that. So don't stop. I mean it.
Thank you.
Want to take us home on this one?
Yeah, I mean, I feel like there are genuinely so many moments that I could call to. And the one I'm going to say is not one from the shoot or prep or post. It really was yesterday, premiering the film at Sundance felt really remarkably special to me, to have so many of our incredible crew members who worked so hard on the film and are so talented. And my parents were there, Molly's parents. Molly's mom has been a mentor to me. I just felt like it was surreal and so joyful, and I was sweating profusely. And I loved it. Yeah, it was a really special, joyful moment.
That's wonderful. I'm so glad you had that moment. I'm very excited for you all. Before I let you go, I got to squeeze in one unrelated question for you, Molly, because I'm very curious about small parts. But in particular, I kind of want to know about the transition, because you know how much I love theater camp. That one you co-directed. This one you are the sole director. What did you learn about, I guess, your skill set and your craft as a director by spearheading a film solo?
I haven't made it yet. So,
No. When are you gonna make it?
Well,
hurry up and make it.
I'm excited. I'm really excited to direct this year. It's going to be really fun, and I'm going to learn a lot on that as well. And and small parts is something I conceived with my writing partner, Allie. And I love the movie Outrageous Fortune. It's batshit, and we're excited to make something even more batshit.
I'm going to rephrase slightly.
Yeah.
Can you tell me something you saw Sophie do on this set as a director that you appreciated and admired, you put in your back pocket, and you might try to put to use on that film?
It's Soph's whole essence. She's just like, when something is really stressful, she's just still the most kind and supportive person. And I think not letting, the heat get to you and just leading with love. I feel like as a friend, I learned from that. So I learned that as a director as well.
Top tier quality to have.
But Molly will be a remarkable director. She's directed
without a
before,
doubt.
and she's incredible. So
Without a
she
doubt.
doesn't need Advice from me, maybe advice from someone who's 40 years older than me. We'll both take. We'll take that advice.
Stop that. Advice from across the board, pass it down, back and forth. Y'all learn from each other in the best possible ways. I cannot wait to see the finished product. Huge congratulations on Oh Hi, and thank you so much for sharing some of your experience making it with us.
Thank you.
Thank
Barry.
you.
Thank you.